Let me tell you something that might sting a little. Men don't fall in love with your looks, your outfit, or even your smile. They fall in love with how you talk to them. And here's the twist. Most women talk in a way that makes a man admire them, but a high-value woman talks in a way that makes a man need her. Think about it. When you meet a guy you like, your instinct might be to over-explain, fill every silence, or try too hard to keep him entertained. But a high-value woman, she does the opposite. She's calm, playful, and she allows space. Her words aren't rushed. She doesn't force a connection. She lets it breathe. That's what makes her unforgettable. And she never forgets boundaries. She can be sweet, but she's not afraid to say no. She knows her value, and that confidence shows up in her tone. It's not arrogance, it's self-respect. If you're loving this and you want to master the art of talking to men in a way that makes them fall for you, don't just watch, stick around, because I'm about to give you the exact words and habits that turn casual conversations into deep emotional bonds. Let me ask you something powerful. Have you ever said all the right words to a man but felt like he just didn't really hear you? You weren't wrong, and you weren't imagining it. You just weren't speaking in a way that reached him. And today, that is about to shift. This might be the video that completely changes the way you connect with men, not by pretending to be someone else, but by unlocking the high-value version of you that already exists inside. If you're exhausted from always being the one to initiate, if you feel like you explain yourself too much, or if you've wondered why he pulls away even when you're giving him your best, then you are in the right place. Because high-value women don't chase, they attract. And they do it with their words, their energy, and their presence. In the next few minutes, we're going to dive into the art of communication that builds attraction, creates emotional safety, and sparks real connection. This isn't about games, tricks, or acting like someone you're not. It's about speaking from a calm inner strength, a kind of feminine influence that naturally makes the right man lean closer and pay attention in a deeper way. And yes, when you speak like a high-value woman, the right man will love you for it. Whether you're dating, starting something new, or rebalancing the relationship you already have, this is your guide to talking in a way that invites admiration, trust, and genuine intimacy. Are you ready to stop second-guessing yourself and start shining? Let's get into how high-value women communicate and why it changes everything. So, what actually makes a woman high value? This is one of the most misunderstood ideas out there. A high-value woman isn't defined by looking perfect, being popular, or collecting a list of achievements. It goes deeper than that. It's about her energy, her mindset, and the undeniable way she carries herself. A high-value woman knows who she is, not because someone labeled her, but because she built that foundation from the inside. Her sense of worth doesn't rise or fall based on who texts her, who likes her photos, or whether a man chooses her. She has already chosen herself, and that alone is magnetic. She isn't afraid to set boundaries, not because she's cold or difficult, but because she respects her time, her feelings, and her energy. She doesn't over-explain, she doesn't over-apologize, and she doesn't overextend herself. She gives with purpose, not out of fear that she'll lose someone. A high-value woman doesn't chase validation, she reflects it. Her presence communicates her standards before she even speaks a word. She listens with intention, speaks with clarity, and never shrinks to make others feel more comfortable. She holds her own without needing to dominate, and she leads with warmth without ever losing her strength. Here's something most people forget. A high-value woman doesn't need to stay endlessly busy just to feel important. She values joy, peace, and playfulness. She isn't stuck in a cycle of constantly proving her worth. She lives in a state of being, and that is exactly what pulls others toward her. In relationships, she doesn't chase after attention. She doesn't try to earn love. Her very presence is the invitation. And the right man will see that, not because she pushes harder, but because she naturally stands out. She is aligned with her truth, and that makes her unavailable to just anyone. Being high value is not a performance, and it's not about being flawless. It's about alignment, intention, and respecting yourself emotionally. And the beautiful part is, this isn't something you're simply born with. It's a choice you can grow into. In this video, you'll learn how that choice shows up in the way you speak, because the way you talk to a man reveals how you see yourself. And when you treat yourself as high value, he will see you the same way. Let's get real for a second. The way many women talk to men, especially early in a relationship or during emotional moments, often works against the connection they want. And the hardest part? Most of these mistakes come from good intentions. One of the biggest mistakes women make is over-explaining or talking too much. This usually comes from the fear of being misunderstood or a strong need to feel completely seen. But what often happens is this: rather than drawing him in, it overwhelms him. Men connect differently. They process emotions in another way. When you talk at him instead of with him, especially when it comes with anxious energy, he may shut down, not because he doesn't care, but because he feels emotionally flooded. Sometimes less really is more. Another big mistake is trying to control how he responds emotionally. For example, if you share how you feel but then attach demands like, "You should feel this way," or "If you loved me, you'd do that," it creates pressure, not closeness. High-value communication is about expressing your truth, not about managing his reaction. Then there's the pattern of passive aggressiveness or testing him with comments like, "I guess you're too busy for me," or "Whatever, do what you want." Yes, these words may come from hurt feelings, but they only push him further away. Instead of creating closeness, they trigger defensiveness. A high-value woman doesn't test loyalty with sarcasm. She speaks openly, calmly, and directly, even when she feels hurt. Another mistake is oversharing too soon. Vulnerability is beautiful, but only when it's earned. Pouring out your entire life story, past pain, or relationship baggage at the start doesn't create real depth. It overwhelms. True emotional intimacy should be mutual and steady, not one-sided and rushed. Let him earn the right to know the most tender parts of you. Many women also fall into performance mode, laughing more than they feel like, pretending they're fine with things that actually bother them, or acting low mentalship when they do have needs. This only builds resentment over time. A high-value woman doesn't perform for approval. She stands firm in her truth and trusts the right person will appreciate it. And one of the most overlooked mistakes, talking from fear instead of trust. Fear that he'll leave. Fear that you're not enough. Fear that speaking your standards will scare him away. That fear leaks into your words, your tone, your timing. And the truth is, nothing makes a quality man pull away faster than a woman who doesn't see her own worth. The good news? Every one of these mistakes can be undone. Communication is not about being perfect. It's about being present, aware, and self-respecting. When you shift from fear to confidence, from reacting to calmly expressing yourself, everything changes. That's exactly what we're building here. The skill to speak with intention so that he hears you, not just with his ears, but with his heart. Attraction, the psychology behind male attraction, is a game changer. Because when you understand why men are drawn to certain women, you stop guessing and start building deeper bonds. Attraction, for men, isn't only about looks. Yes, physical beauty may open the door, but it's emotional energy that makes him stay. On a psychological level, men are most drawn to how a woman makes them feel about themselves when they are with her, and it's not about empty compliments or boosting his ego. It's about emotional safety, curiosity, and inspiration. When a man is around a high-value woman, he feels something rare. She doesn't need him to complete her, but she invites him into a space that feels exciting, calm, and real. That mix of warmth and self-assurance sparks his natural drive to pursue, protect, and connect. This is both biological and psychological. Men are drawn to women who show softness without chaos, who can share feelings without attacking, and who can receive without demanding. Another key part of attraction is mystery, not in a manipulative or secret way, but in the sense that a high-value woman doesn't reveal everything at once. She allows the bond to unfold, step by step, leaving room for curiosity. She isn't overly available, constantly seeking reassurance, or pouring out her emotions in every moment. That self-control, that steady self-respect, makes a man feel like he is discovering her, not consuming her. Men are also very sensitive to tone and non-verbal signals, the way a woman speaks, her posture, her eye contact. These things create subconscious messages that either open the door to intimacy or close it. Confidence, softness, and presence often matter more than the words themselves. The core attraction is about energy. Men are drawn to women who own their emotions, who carry themselves with grace, and who stay rooted in their own value. They are not drawn to women who try to earn love by proving themselves. The most attractive quality of all is a woman who knows she is already enough without needing constant reminders. Speaking from feminine power isn't about being louder, sweeter, or nicer. It isn't about sugarcoating or submitting. It's about staying grounded in your own truth, owning your emotions, and expressing yourself with calm certainty that instantly changes how a man responds. When you speak from feminine power, you're not trying to dominate the conversation. You're not trying to convince him, correct him, or control him. You are simply sharing what is true for you from a calm and centered place instead of from emotional chaos. And here's the key. Feminine power isn't reactive. It's responsive. It listens first. It feels before speaking. One of the simplest yet most powerful tools is shifting from you accusations to I language. For example, instead of saying you never make time for me, which puts him on defense, you could say, I feel distant when we don't spend quality time together. That small shift invites closeness instead of conflict and shows emotional maturity. Feminine power also shows up in how you hold space. You don't rush to fill silence or interrupt out of nervousness. You allow pauses. You let your words sink in. You create a space that communicates, I trust myself. I don't need to force this. That kind of space gives a man permission to step forward, speak openly, and engage more fully. Another important part is your vocal tone. You don't need to whisper, but feminine presence often comes through in a warm, steady tone, not a sharp or overly dramatic one. Think calm, clear, intentional. You're speaking to connect, not just to be loud. And remember, emotions are not weaknesses. They are strength, but the power comes in how you share them. A woman who can say, that hurt me and I want to understand what happened, shows more strength than someone who yells, shuts down, or pretends she's fine when she isn't. Vulnerability paired with emotional control is one of the most powerful forms of feminine energy. Don't be afraid to slow things down. High-value communication isn't rushed or performative. Slowing your pace signals self-trust and presence. It gives both of you space to feel, not just react. And here's the secret. When you speak from your feminine power, you don't need perfect words. Your energy does most of the work. You become magnetic, not because you're trying to impress, but because you're fully at ease with yourself. That kind of presence is unforgettable. Feminine power in speech is soft yet steady, emotional yet clear, expressive yet intentional. It's the voice of a woman who knows what she feels, knows what she needs, and trusts that the right man will meet her there. No pushing, no pretending, no performing. Words are not just sounds, they're emotional signals. And when you use the right words with a man, you're not just talking, you're building emotional bonds at a deep unconscious level. That's where real intimacy starts. And it's not about tricks or acting. It's about choosing language that opens hearts instead of building walls. Emotional bonding happens when a man feels seen, safe, and significant when he's with you. And he's with you. That happens through words that affirm, reflect, and invite, not through words that criticize, compete, or control. Let's begin with something simple but powerful. That makes sense. These three small words seem basic, but they're extremely effective for connection. Why? because they validate his experience. You're not necessarily agreeing, but you're saying you understand his perspective. And feeling understood is one of the most underrated forms of intimacy. Another bonding phrase is, "Tell me more." This shows interest, not interrogation, not control, just real curiosity. Many men are emotionally guarded, not because they lack feelings, but because they're used to those feelings being dismissed or misunderstood. When you ask him to share more without judgment, you're letting him know his emotions matter too. Use "I feel" statements instead of blame. For example, "I feel closer to you when we spend time without distractions," instead of "You never put your phone down." The first builds connection, the second builds defensiveness. Men open up when they feel they aren't being attacked but invited. And don't underestimate affirming words. Things like, "I love how your mind works," or "I feel safe with you," or "You're really good at calming me down." These aren't empty compliments. They're specific reflections that touch his sense of identity. They make him feel like more than just a partner. They make him feel like a man. They activate the part of him wired for loyalty, care, and bonding. Even simple acknowledgments like, "Thank you for being here with me," or "I really appreciate how you handled that," deepen the connection. Why? Because bonds form in moments, and words capture those moments with intention. Here's another powerful way. Speak your vulnerability without fear. Say things like, "This is a little hard for me to bring up, but I want to talk about it because I care about us." That kind of openness, paired with softness, creates the space for him to share his own vulnerability in return. Finally, always remember that your tone and timing matter just as much as the words you say. Don't try to force a connection when he's distracted, stressed, or emotionally closed off. Choose calm moments. Let your words settle. Let silence work for you. The right words, spoken with truth and emotional presence, don't just make a man listen, they make him feel. And once he feels bonded to you on an emotional level, he's no longer just interested, he's invested. Magnetic communication is what makes a woman unforgettable. It's the way she speaks that lingers in a man's mind long after the conversation ends. Not because she said something dramatic, but because her energy made him feel something real. Think about this example. You're on a date, and instead of staying on surface level small talk, you say, "I love finding out what makes people come alive. What's something that lights you up even on a hard day?" That question shifts the energy from casual to personal. You're not just chatting, you're inviting depth, which is something most men rarely experience. Here's another example. A man opens up about something difficult, maybe a stressful day or a personal frustration. Instead of trying to fix it, you say, "I really admire how you dealt with that. That couldn't have been easy. Thank you for trusting me enough to share it." That statement hits many levels at once: respect, validation, and intimacy. That is feminine power in action. Magnetic communication also shows up when you set boundaries. For instance, instead of snapping when a man crosses a line, you could calmly say, "I value what we have, and I want it to feel good for both of us. That didn't feel right to me, and I'd love if we could do it differently next time." That's clear, calm, and confident. It raises the standard without creating unnecessary drama. Even playful moments can carry magnetism. If he teases you, you might smile and say, "That kind of charm could be dangerous if I wasn't already steady." It's flirty, light-hearted, and self-aware. You're not just reacting, you're shaping the moment with emotional intelligence. And in softer moments, magnetic communication could sound like this: "I feel so safe just being quiet with you right now. You don't need to fix anything. I just love knowing you're here. Being with you feels easy, and I don't take that for granted." These words anchor emotion into the experience. They make a man feel not only admired, but deeply understood. That's rare, and that's why it stays with him. The secret to magnetic communication is presence. You're not trying to impress, manipulate, or perform. You're rooted in the moment, listening as much as speaking, and letting your words carry honesty, warmth, and confidence. Men remember how a woman makes them feel far more than what she wears or even what she looks like. And when your words consistently feel safe, playful, curious, and grounded, that's what makes you unforgettable. Not effort, not volume, but authenticity expressed with calm, feminine strength. Setting boundaries isn't about pushing someone away, it's about protecting your peace and preserving your self-respect. And when a high-value woman sets boundaries, she does it with grace, clarity, and calm strength. A queen never explains her worth, she embodies it. That's how you approach boundaries in conversation. Not from defensiveness, not from fear of losing someone, but from the deep understanding that your energy is valuable and not everyone gets unlimited access to it. One of the biggest shifts is realizing that a boundary isn't punishment, it's information. It's saying, here's what helps me thrive, here's what respects my emotional space, here's what I can and cannot accept. And when you say it with calm certainty rather than frustration, it invites more respect, not less. For example, if a man keeps sending you late-night texts, but doesn't make time for you in real life, a low-value reaction might be to ignore him or lash out. But queen energy would sound like, I enjoy connecting with you, but I value quality time more than late-night messages. Let me know when you're ready for something real. No threats, no games, just truth spoken clearly. Or let's say he makes a joke that crosses a line. Instead of forcing a laugh or snapping back, you could say, I know you didn't mean harm, but that comment didn't sit right with me. I want us to talk openly, but with respect. That doesn't tear him down, it raises the standard of the connection. Queens don't need to shout or prove, they speak with self-trust. And that's what makes boundaries strong. It's not about whether the other person agrees. It's about staying true to yourself no matter how they respond. The real test of feminine power is how you hold yourself when someone resists your boundary. Do you collapse and explain yourself over and over, or do you stay steady and calmly repeat your truth? The woman who stays rooted, even if her voice shakes, earns a deeper respect from him and from herself. And here's the magnetic part. When you set a boundary with softness, the right man doesn't leave, he leans in. Why? Because strong men are drawn to women who are clear, structured, and true to themselves. She becomes his safe space because she protects her own energy first. So setting boundaries like a queen is never about building walls, it's about building standards. When you lead with love while staying firm in your worth, you teach others how to love you better, not less. Getting a man to open up emotionally can feel like breaking into a locked room. But the truth is, men want deep connection too. They just need the right space and communication style to feel safe enough to share it. Building that emotional openness starts with safety. Men are often trained by past experiences to hide their feelings. So when you meet him with judgment, pressure, or impatience, he'll protect himself by shutting down. Instead, show through your words and actions that it's okay to be real with you. No masks, no games. One of the most powerful ways to create this safety is through active listening. That means giving him your full attention without interrupting, correcting, or jumping in with solutions. Sometimes men don't want to be fixed, they just want to be heard. When you listen fully and validate even small frustrations, it builds trust and invites him to go deeper. That's how true emotional intimacy grows. Through safety, presence, and the kind of communication that makes him feel understood. Next, pay attention to your tone and body language. A soft voice, warm eye contact, and calm, steady words show him he is safe from judgment or criticism. Your presence turns into a safe place where he can relax and put down his guard. This works far better than pushing him with direct questions or demanding answers when he isn't ready. Another useful step is to share your own feelings first, but in a way that invites him instead of overwhelming him. When you show vulnerability, you send an unspoken message that he has permission to do the same. Don't pour out everything all at once. Start small, with something real but easy to share, like talking about how a certain day made you feel, or a small worry you had. This teaches him that emotional sharing can be safe, equal, and even comforting. Avoid turning check-ins into interrogations. Questions like, "Why don't you ever talk about your feelings?" or "What's wrong with you?" only create pressure and shame. A better way is to use open invitations like, "I'd love to hear what's been on your mind," or "Whenever you feel ready to share, I'm here." These kinds of phrases let him keep control and lower the risk of him feeling cornered. It's also important to remember that emotional openness doesn't come instantly. Patience matters. Celebrate small steps forward. Maybe he opens up with one thought he usually keeps inside, or he responds gently when you ask how he's doing. See these moments as signs of progress, not the final goal. Also, respect his personal way of showing emotions. Some men like to open up with words, while others reveal feelings through actions, gestures, or quiet support. Don't force him to use a style that feels unnatural. Instead, appreciate the way he chooses to connect and see his effort as care. At its heart, helping him open up emotionally is about building a space filled with trust, patience, and honest curiosity. A place where he knows he is seen without judgment and valued without conditions. When you speak from that place, you become an invitation he finds impossible to ignore. As we close this journey on how high-value women communicate with men, I want to leave you with a strong reminder. The way you choose to communicate is one of the most powerful tools you carry. It's not just about attracting the right partner, it's about shaping the kind of relationship you truly want and deserve. It's never about playing tricks, pretending to be someone else, or following complicated rules. It's about owning your energy, speaking your truth, and holding standards that protect your worth. Your words carry more influence than you may realize. They shape the way a man views you, how he feels about himself when he's near you, and even how deeply he chooses to invest in building a bond with you. When you speak from a place of feminine strength, calm, confident, and clear, you naturally invite respect, curiosity, and emotional closeness. But here's the secret. This isn't about being perfect. You don't need to get every moment right. What matters most is your intention and your awareness. Every conversation is a chance to practice, to show up with more presence, and to strengthen your emotional energy. Mistakes will happen, and that's okay. Growth often shows up in those imperfect moments. So, what's your next step? Begin by noticing your own patterns when you communicate. Pay attention to where you may be giving away too much too soon, filling empty space because silence feels uncomfortable, or speaking more from fear than from confidence. Then start